Phone X. So we are going to start with Munster Extra 10. Munster 10 is how it finished on Saturday evening in Sandy Park. Rory O'Connor this morning. Alan, you're very welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
I keep forgetting to introduce people.
I didn't know who he was when he came in. I'm glad you did introduce him.
People at home were just thinking it was Darren Cleary still sitting there. Extra 10, Munster 10. Rory O'Connor actually, in the paper this morning, which you actually have in front of you, says that Munster out-chiefed the Chiefs, which I think is a pretty good way of putting that result.
Yeah, I think before the game, I think there was a lot of pessimism about going over to Exeter and Munster performing. I think the concern was their away form. They'd lost 3 away this campaign so far: Glasgow, Cardiff and Leinster last week. Vast improvement against Leinster in the Aviva, and when you're going away to a team that has got 29 points out of a maximum of 30, you're missing Conor Murray, you're missing Chris Farrell, Jaco Taute, Keith Earls pulls out just before the game. There's concerns there, even with a full strength team, and Leinster showed last year it's a difficult place to go, albeit they got the win there. But I think it's different. European rugby is different, and the Premiership sometimes I think is hyped up a little bit too high, and Europe just goes up another couple of notches. There's some very good teams in England, there's no doubt about that, but Europe is just a different beast. It's like cup rugby, and there's a real physicality, passion, energy, and Munster can just switch on that passion and that energy for Europe, and they lacked a bit of quality and clinical touch at times.
Yeah.
But I thought the effort level was incredible. To play against the wind in the first half, and then just defend the way they did, control the game and perform with the enthusiasm and the energy they had was just remarkable. Yeah,
the wind was crazy. Like, you talk about European rugby being a different kettle of fish to league rugby. Rugby in general, a different kettle of fish to soccer at the weekend, lads. I mean, it was, when you talk about the excitement of the rugby as opposed to the excitement of the Aviva, I know, Alan, you were saying that before you came on air, that it was just a different gravy altogether.
Yeah, well, look, it's when you're playing that in that competitive environment like that, it's... For us as rugby players, I think it's all about physicality. The soccer is definitely more technical and tactical and stuff like that. But if you don't turn up in rugby with particularly in those European games or test matches, and you're not physically right and mentally right for the physical side of the game, you're in big trouble. You can have a very skillful side who fall off tackles, they're a bit soft in the contact area, and a lesser quality team can beat them very easily in rugby. And we've seen that so much. So I think the European Cup, the Heineken Cup, is a different level. It's an exciting week for players, and I think the Irish provinces have done fantastic in it.
I think it's interesting the point you make about the energy inside the stadium, whether it's Munster or particularly Munster and Leinster, and particularly when they play particularly the high-profile games, how the players kind of feed off that. And I know to an extent you have to block that out, but it's very hard to. And I think generally players kind of use that energy inside the stadium. It does. It energises you. Whether you're on the back foot, you defend from a defensive point of view, you're blown. Yeah. Gives you that little bit extra, even in terms of like drawing you up the pitch. The crowd actually, literally, you feel as if they're pushing you up the pitch as well. Now we haven't
momentum, Kenny, isn't it? Because look, even for Munster in the last couple of years ago, the crowds dwindled a little bit. The atmosphere was quieter, and I was kind of talking about it, and people say, well, the players have to create something for the crowd.
One feeds the other. It's a bit of both, I think.
But I think, it's.
But it helps when it's from a player's perspective,
because some fans should turn up to try and get into the game as well and give them a lift. But we know if we're sitting in the stand, I was at the Denmark game last year. It was a crucial qualifier for a World Cup. Shane Duffy scores. I never had experienced the energy and the crowd, and in all my matches, like, I won't say never, but it was just an incredible moment. With, like, I've been on the field and obviously when we won European Cups, but just to be in the crowd and go, wow, the energy, the atmosphere, it just went through the roof.
Sport lovers, though.
So soccer can do that, absolutely. Yeah,
it's different sports. Like this time of the year, you get a buzz because if I normally am going to games, but if you don't and you stay at home, you have a rugby match on, and then followed by a soccer match, and
the GAA do it as well, don't they? Yeah. Limerick this year, or you get a great Croke Park full All-Ireland final. I know the football was different because Dublin are so dominant, but that hurling final was incredible. It's on a knife edge. That's the atmosphere you're talking about. But look, it's not always like that for rugby. You know that.
Flows, in
there's
some
boring
years.
Rugby matches too, and the crowds don't get in. But the thing about European rugby and the Heineken Cup, we have such an affinity with it, the Irish provinces. We get excited by it. The players love it. Honestly, as a player, it was just a different week.
Yeah.
Like Leinster on a different level now. And I was watching at the weekend, I'm saying, can anybody challenge them? The only team that I can see in there that possibly could challenge them at the moment on paper after round one is Saracens. They look very, very strong and physical and a lot of options in attack. But Leinster are just, we were chatting, Kenny, you were saying it to me this morning, they're just a different level. They blew Wasps away, so clinical and such a hunger to get up, get a score and get the ball again. They just all want the ball. And you see Tadhg Furlong, a tight head prop, bobbing and weaving out in the wing, giving a pass to James Lowe. He just doesn't sit back then after he's tackled and say, that's fine. He gets up off the ground and he's sprinted to try and affect the next play. Like, there's a lot of things you can take, and I always look for in sport, when you're showing your kids about work rate and desire, and we hear those words in soccer, rugby, GA, they're the things that it's hard to coach. And Tadhg Furlong just does that incredibly well and gets up off the ground and wants to go again. James Ryan makes a tackle, gets back up, another tackle, another tackle, another tackle. It's just phenomenal, their work rate and their energy and their want to do well. But looking at the results of the weekend, that Munster result, when you look at it, 10-all, walking out of there, you're kind of going, I felt frustrated, they'll feel a bit frustrated. But in the bigger picture, before the game, it's a massive result, 2 points away from home. Like, I played with Munster in a lot of games where we lost that first game and you're deflated and you're kind of going, geez, have we a chance of winning it? They can leave there now with so many positives. We lost in 05-06 against Sale. We got walloped in the first game over in Stockport. And it was tough to pick ourselves up, but we did, and we went on and won the competition. But actually, to get something like that from Munster, it's
I think
massive.
first game in the group, wherever it is, there's always a bit of self-doubt creeps in when you lose your first games. It's just the psychology of it. Like, you might lose narrowly or whatever the circumstances. To lose that first game is always that little bit of, you doubt yourself a little bit.
Munster are not as good now.
No, they're not. No, Leinster,
that result will be better for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
For you. I know you lost the game.
That was a result that you lads would have got in Sandy Park, the way they grounded out. But particularly if you take the fact that Keith Earls went down before in the warm-up, and the fact that Conor Murray is out. So you've got this new out half in Joy Carberry, who then suddenly, because of Conor Murray's continued absence, is thrown in as the continued playmaker earlier on in the season. And Saturday, given the wind, given the conditions, given the away fixture against the top team in the Premiership, this was a huge test for Munster's new playmaker. Other than that very last kick, which I think we can kind of give him a free pass for, he passed it with flying colours. Yeah,
he was brilliant, and I think that little bit of composure and control there in under, like, it's unbelievably pressurised to be out there, and I think Tadhg Burns said it after the game, who, by the way, was sensational. Another Leinster player playing with Munster, but he was sensational. It was phenomenal, and he said it in his interview afterwards, you cannot believe how tough that was. And here's a guy who has a natural, incredible work rate. He's just non-stop all the time, and he's saying, I cannot describe how hard it was. And for your fly half there, and in everything that's happened with him making the move to Munster, to be that composed under pressure. The last kick, it's just one of those things, isn't it? The wind is so strong, and you probably can't legislate for that before you get the ball. You think, God, it's my ball, it's never going to go dead.
Yeah.
And but given everything that they were up against, I think they can take so much out of that. The big question mark is they need to be more, or the big issue is more clinical, and that's something we've been saying for a while. Certainly something you can fix a little bit better in training and one or two guys back, but it wasn't the back scenario. It was some of the forwards who were doing little tip-on passes and knocking the ball on, losing it in contact a little bit. It
wasn't the day for that sort of stuff.
No, but I tell it's fine, but I think maybe they just felt at times that, the guy inside me is going to carry, he's not going to pass, and then they were kind of shocked that he passed it to him. But I thought...
like that Archer moment when they were going through, that's the big instant.
And you work so hard against the wind. But look, they're small things. Overall, it's a massive result. I think Ulster's performance on Saturday against Leicester was sloppy, patchy at times, but it was a real confidence booster, given on the back of losing to Connacht for the first time in 58 years, getting walloped by Munster.
Can I just point out, Michael Lowry on Saturday night, doing it for the middle 5 foot people in the world that can actually go out and play rugby now after that. Like it was so heartening. Me as well. Myself and Stephen are going to sign up for rugby.
Small man syndrome. Well, small man syndrome threw me into the port, Dublin port, and Ireland's fittest family 2 years ago.
You can't get over it. You just can't let it go.
Caught me on the hop and threw me into the sea. So we're not finished yet, Hunty. Don't worry.
What exactly happened? Has that gone out on television?
We're sitting now. Yeah, we were sitting together on a boat like that, and he gives me the.
Still need a power on again.
Good job I didn't have my phone. Very relaxed, but we're not finished yet, Hunty. You know that. He's very nervous every time he comes around me nowadays, but I'm still keeping that one. But yeah, Michael Lowry was very good. Henderson was good. Billy Burns, obviously his brother had a howler in Bath. But look, I think for Ulster, Jordy Murphy coming back, Marty Moore coming off the bench, that was a really important result for him. And dare I say it, the English are complaining that the Irish players are getting rested too much and stuff like that. So they're looking for excuses. But Gloucester beat Cass, so that, and Newcastle had a great win in Toulon. So that
this is Freddie Burns up on screen.
Yeah, so he missed a kick a minute or two before that, and he's the full back for Bath. They're 22-20 down. They have a very kickable penalty. He hits the post, missed 2 in the first half. He actually played very well in open play. And so he has a bit of redemption. He runs a fantastic line to get clean through. He's in the dead ball area and about to touch it down, blows a little kiss to the crowd, big smile on his face. And Maxime Maydard, a guy who's around forever with Toulouse, experience, just doesn't give up. We're talking about messages for kids, never give up, even when someone is clean through in goal and soccer, whatever. And he hits the hand and he loses the ball. And
do you ever see that, lads, in soccer? Well, it doesn't really.
Do you know what springs to mind? Ronnie Rosenthal is a very famous one for Liverpool. Yeah, but I don't think it's not even it wouldn't be as bad as that. It wasn't as if he was naturally complacent, like just made not the kind of contact. Yeah, you know.
What would you say to him? If you're okay, what could you say to him in 2005 and what could you say to him in 2018?
After he knocked him down, after he knocked him out.
Yeah, it's very difficult because I did the game for Virgin Media on Saturday, and I just felt, oh my God, we all hate to see that in sport, don't we? Because we all
now we're laughing, but
sacrifice and you train your ass off to try and get to a position. Now, some people are criticising, saying, oh, he's so stupid, he should have touched it down and he was being cocky. I don't think he was being cocky. There was an air of relief, the smile on his face, maybe that little kiss
is a bit too far,
that, you know, and but just 2 hands, just make sure, you can never switch off in that situation. It was massive. His team took off. There's Ronnie Rosenthal's one. But they took him straight off, which I thought was, oh my God, don't isolate the guy. Maybe Todd Blackadder was saying, look, maybe something else is going to go wrong for him. But like there was 4 minutes left. Give him a chance.
I think that's poor. I think that's poor management. I really do.
Kenny, the guys like this in the sideline.
You can almost lose a player. If I was in that player's position, I'd feel as if I'd been publicly hung out to dry, but I'm actually ridiculed. He's feeling bad enough. He doesn't need to be told the mistake that he's made. He needs arms around him at that particular moment, with teammates or whatever, the manager. So to actually hang him out as he does, humiliate, actually drag him off the pitch. For me, that's almost like that's a breakdown in a relationship between. I don't know what the manager can say to that player now to get that player back on side, because like you said, there's no argument. There's not really a tactical argument. Well, I had to take.
If someone is having a nightmare in a game, Kenny, and they're just things aren't going well, and they miss a few chances as a striker or something. Yeah, take him off with 10, 15 minutes to go. It's more of a look. It's not his day.
Accept that. Yeah.
But this was a kind of a pivotal moment where you're going. This has just happened, and we're just going to hang you out to dry. And he's got that long walk across the field. Some of the crowd are booing. Some of them are kind of going, Jesus, what do I say here? Do I cheer? Do I clap him?
Yeah, horrible.
He was devastated, wasn't he?
Horrible.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Just a couple of quick questions before we wrap up, Quinny. Like, one thing that struck me from the Ulster game, Will Addison, great utility back, the sort of player that would be ideal in a World Cup squad.
Yeah, well, I was asked for World Cup squad a few weeks ago, and I said that he was someone who could be, even though there's very little room to manoeuvre now in Joe Schmidt's squad, because a lot of the guys, they're in, and if they got to play themselves out at this stage, he's someone who could potentially make a run for a World Cup squad. Very, very talented, can cover multiple positions, and he gives them that little bit of spark, that little bit of cohesive kind of movement, if you like, and he's just, people can play off him as well, so very comfortable with the ball, and I thought he was brilliant on Saturday.
Another one, would Leinster win the Six Nations?
Very close, yeah. They're only one international they've only one non-international, and that's James Lowe, and you could argue he'll probably play for
If
Ireland.
my granny had.
Yeah, but
It's amazing,
to be
though.
fair,
It's amazing.
they're phenomenal. you know.
Yeah.
They're just relentless in the environment they have, and it's the backup they have. They've so many guys like Rhys Ruddock. We spoke about him Friday morning. How frustrated will he be not being in the 23? He comes in.
He plays unreal.
Dan Levy is to pull out in the warm-up. Rhys Ruddock comes in and he's phenomenal. He's an international quality player.
That's
so there's
scary
so much
fluidity.
depth. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. Look, you don't win a competition in round one. Wasps were desperate. You go back 3 years ago, Wasps put 50 points in Leinster. They didn't go on to win the competition, but Leinster are just in a different space. These guys are hungry and motivated, and that's just the way it is. It's they have to. They're at a standard now where everyone else has to try and climb up to. And like I said, looking after the weekend, I can't see any team that can beat them. The only team that can beat them is themselves. When you're that successful and when you're on the top, it's complacency, it's maybe a little bad run of luck.
You can't even see it. Well, you say that work and play, and it's an obvious thing to say, but you're not even
But
convincing
Kenny,
yourself.
the
You
thing that
can't
can
see it.
happen Friday night there is, look, we've Wasps at home, we'll win the game, we win at 25-15. It's a few mistakes, but they're relentless.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was cold.
It's just, it was like foot on the throat stuff when you're down. Like, even
It was
at the
actually
end.
Stuart Barnes put it very. He said Stuart Barnes said that Leinster penetrate like a stiletto, whereas Munster are more like a hobnailed boot. He said in the Sunday Times yesterday, which is a good way of putting it.
And it's probably fair enough. And look, in an ideal world, I'd love Munster's attack, and they probably would. It's just the way it is. The frustrating thing at times is they have a very pacey back three. They have a lot of danger there. It's sometimes getting the ball. Now that'll come a little bit. Carberry's there. It will come a little bit. And
Like the
when
3-5-2
Farrell comes
formation, we
back,
want to get solid and then build on it.
the boys in to do a bit of diamond shape work with Munster or something.
I don't think we can teach those lads anything, to be honest with you, the rugby boys.
Just one last thing then. Connacht's big win against Bordeaux at the
Yeah, it was
weekend.
a good start for them, and again, it's they're playing well, they're playing with confidence, and Andy Friend has done a great job. So I said it on Friday as well, look, for me, Pro 14 for them, getting into the knockout stage and qualifying for Europe would be a priority, but a good run in Europe, and it started well from at the weekend.
Yeah, I guess the idea of a European journey, seeing kind of even someone like Bordeaux.
Yeah, it's good, but just it may stretch Connacht a little bit if they get some injuries, and they've had those issues before where they've been playing in both. They probably need more depth in their squad, but it's a good start for them. It's certainly Bordeaux. They came to play actually, and surprisingly, that's the intrigue with some of the French teams. What well they will approach the competition, but it's a good start for Connacht, and it keeps that momentum going for them.
Yeah, definitely. It's great as well that you've got back-to-back European weekends straight away, because you get the sort of taste of it straight away, and you're like, oh, do we have to wait another couple of weeks? But it's straight up, and Munster Gloucester is going to look
Yeah, that's
like
going
one
to
of the
be
ties of the
brilliant.
round.
It goes back to, we did a piece for the Miracle match in 03, and there's a fair bit of history. They played each other a couple of times after that, and we played Gloucester after that. But that'll be exciting on Saturday. Leinster's one in Toulouse is going to be an intriguing one, because I thought Toulouse showed glimpses against Bath of power, of danger, and maybe they can ask a few questions, but going to France is difficult, but Leinster have been there many times, so they go and, we'll see what the reaction is from that Wasps one now. Can they go on? I think they will go and win there, but it's brilliant to have it back.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to go to Ireland Wales tomorrow night, are you?
Unfortunately not.
You got a couple of spare tickets there. You got a couple. Nobody's phoned in yet. Nobody's phoned in yet. Looking
Go
for
on
the
and
tickets.
retweet the stream. You'll be in the draw for.
Will do, yeah, for a draw. I'll rob them off you in a minute when we go offline.